Hare Krishna, welcome to Ayur Kiddus Academy. So today we are moving on to the second session of cardiovascular system, and before going into the session we'll chant one Omkara. Sit straight, close your eyes, spine erect. With the exhalation you need to chant Omkara. Take a deep inhalation, inhale. Feel the vibration of Omkara. Feel the positive energy. Slowly and gently open your eyes. Yes. Today we are going to study about the cardiac muscle and the conduction system of the heart. So last class we studied about the layers of the heart. To brush up, it is 3 layers, that is pericardium, myocardium and endocardium. So pericardium was again divided into inner and outer, inner visceral layer, outer parietal layer. Outer parietal layer was again divided into inner serous layer and outer fibrous layer. So this outer fibrous layer, it prevents the over expansion of the heart, and inner serous layer, it secretes some fluid to prevent the friction. Then comes the inner visceral layer of the pericardium, which lines the myocardium. Myocardium is the bulk of the heart, bulk muscle of the heart. Then endocardium is what? It is a glistening part of the inner layer of the heart, and it is a glistening layer. Then today we are going to study about myocardium. Myocardium means the cardiac muscle. So in my first class I told you, from cells the tissues are formed, from tissues the organ, from organ all the organs combine together to form the organ system. Here the cell is what? Cardiomyocyte or cardiomuscle cell. So we are going to study about cardiomyocyte. Many cardiomyocytes are combined together to form a cardiac muscle tissue. And this will form the organ called heart. Clear? So what is this cardiomyocyte? What is the structure present in cardiomyocyte? So it is elongated and branched. See, the cardiac cell is elongated and branched. It is having a single nucleus and many mitochondria. Okay, it is elongated and branched. It is having single nucleus, many mitochondria. This is nucleus. Many mitochondria and thin and thick filament, that is, which forms the myofibril. What it is? Myofibril means the cell, one nucleus, many mitochondria and many myofibrils are there, and the outer layer is called as sarcolemma, and inner thing it is called as sarcoplasm. So the outer layer covering the cardiac muscle cell, cardiomyocyte. The outer layer which is covering the cardiomyocyte is what? Sarcolemma, and the inner plasma which is present is called as sarcoplasm. So if I'll take the cut section of the cardiomyocyte, it looks like that. That is sarcolemma. Okay, and so this is cardiomyocyte. Cardiomyocyte's outer cover is what? Sarcolemma. Then many mitochondria are there. Single nucleus is there. These are called as myofibrils. And these are called as myofibrils. How does the myofibril is present, or what is the structure which is present in the myofibril? That is actin and myosin. Actin and myosin. Actin is a thin band. Myosin is a thick band. This thin band is called as I and the thick band is called as A. So the myofibril, it will be having filaments, myofilaments, which is called as actin and myosin. These two are the proteins, and it is arranged in the form of thin band and thick band. Thick band is myosin, thin band is actin, and the name given to it is I and A. I is thin band, A is thick band. So this, what is this? Myofilaments. Once again, I am going to explain. Myofilaments, it contains two proteins, actin and myosin, that is thin band and thick band. This myofilament is going to form the myofibril, and many myofibrils are present in one cardiac cell. And cardiac cell, that is called as cardiomyocyte, it is having one nucleus, single nucleus, and many mitochondria. So how this actin and myosin is arranged in a myofibril. Now we are going to see the myofibril. How this actin and myosin is arranged. This is one myofibril. I am going to explain. See the first crisscross line which looks like a Z. It is called as Z line. Okay. And the thick band which I am drawing is myosin. See here, the thick band which I drew is myosin, which is called as A. And the thin band which is present in between here, it is called as actin. It is actin protein and it is named as I. Okay, clear? So the next to the Z line there is a band, that is thin band, then thick band, then again thick band, and then thin band. So there is a thick line in between, it is called as M line. What it is called as? M line. See, this is the structure of myofibril. Myofibril contains myofilaments called actin and myosin. These two are the proteins. It is named as actin as I, myosin as A. And here how it is arranged? The actin and myosin are arranged in this form. There is a M line in between the myosin. What does it do? It is an accessory protein which connects two thick bands. Okay, what is this M line? M line is the accessory. It connects two thick bands by an accessory protein. Two thick bands are connected together by an accessory protein called M line. Then this entire thing is what? Sarcomere. Z line or Z band, then comes the thin band, then the thick band, then M line, again thick band, thin band, then Z line. So from Z line to Z line, it is called as sarcomere. Here the Z line is what? it separates, it's a crisscross line, or it separates one sarcomere from the other sarcomere, and these two sarcomeres together forms the myofibril. Getting my point? Many sarcomeres forms myofibril. What is sarcomere? Sarcomere is having IAI band. That means actin, myosin and actin. Actin, myosin and actin. It is separated by Z line, that is one sarcomere, and many sarcomeres together forms the myofibril. So here Z line means what? Z line separates one sarcomere from the other sarcomere. M line is what? It connects two thick bands by a accessory protein. Then what is this thin line? It is a actin, which is also named as I. And the thick band is what? Myosin. It is also named as A. So sarcomere is what? I. Thin, thick and thin. I hope you would have got this. Any doubts related to this, please put in the comments so that I can clear your doubts. This is about cardiomyocyte, and in cardiomyocyte we studied that the outer covering was called as sarcolemma, right? This sarcolemma actually it invades, it has a highly branched invagination. It has a highly branched invagination which is called as T-tubule, where you can see this T-tubule on the Z line. What we studied in sarcomere, on the Z line you can see this T-tubule. T-tubule are nothing but the sarcolemma. See here the Z line, over that the sarcolemma, which is outer covering of the cardiomyocyte, it is having highly invagination on the Z line. What does it contain? It contains the ion channels. For what it is responsible? It is responsible for the conduction and excitability. For excitability and conduction, these T-tubules are responsible because it contains ion channels on it. Then the inner plasma we called as sarcoplasm. This sarcoplasm forms a sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sarcoplasmic reticulum over what? One myofibril. So on each myofibril you can see this sarcoplasmic reticulum. What does this contain? Intracellular calcium ions. It contains intracellular, it constitutes to the intracellular calcium ions. That is nothing but sarcoplasmic reticulum. The entire thing, once again I am going to repeat it. So cardiomyocyte is what? It is an elongated and branched cell. It is having a single nucleus, many mitochondria, and what does it contain? A myofibril. What is this myofibril? Myofibril is made up of myofilaments. What is this myofilaments? Myofilaments are thin and thick bands. So thin is what? Actin protein, and thick is myosin protein. So when this thin and thick bands are arranged like this, how? Arranged in I, A and I form, that is actin, myosin, actin form, separated by a Z line. It is called as sarcomere. So many sarcomeres together forms the myofibril, and many myofibrils are present in one cell. So when this many cells, many cardiomyocytes are going to combine together or attach together to form a muscle tissue, cardiac muscle tissue. That means many cardiomyocytes are going to be attached to each other through a disc called intercalated disc. So what is this intercalated disc? It is going to connect. It is going to connect two cardiomyocytes. It is going to connect two cardiomyocytes. The disc which connects the two cardiomyocytes is called as intercalated disc. And what does this disc contains? It has a gap junction and the desmosome. What does this intercalated disc, the name itself says intercalated disc, the disc which connects two cardiomyocytes, and it contains gap junction and the desmosome. So gap junction, the name itself says that there is a gap. Why it is present? Because it helps in transfer of materials. Transfer of materials. Then the other one was desmosome. Desmosome is what? It acts like a welding between two cells to keep the cells in contact. So this gap junction and desmosome, it is present in the intercalated disc, and gap junction is there for the transfer of materials, whereas desmosome, it acts like a welding which keeps two cells together, and here the transfer of material will not take place. For example, see, this is a cell, one cardiomyocyte. It is getting connected to the other cardiomyocyte. This is the intercalated disc. In that disc you can see, this is the intercalated disc. It's having a gap junction, then the desmosome, again gap junction, desmosome. So this gap junction, what does it do? Transfer of materials like impulses and all get transferred through it. This desmosome, what does it do? It welds. It keeps two cells together. Here the transfer of material will not take place. This is about intercalated disc. So cardiomyocyte, many cardiomyocytes are going to give rise to what? Cardiac muscle tissue, and that tissue gives rise to the heart. I hope it is clear. And here cardiac muscle, it needs to contract in more than one direction. That means in skeletal muscle, whenever there is an impulse passed and if the skeletal muscle wants to contract, it contracts in one direction. But here the cardiac muscle needs to contract in more than one direction. It will not contract in only one direction. It needs to contract in more than one direction so that it can pump the blood through to the different parts of the body. Then next we'll be studying about conduction system. I hope you would have understood cardiac muscle cell, and after understanding the cardiac muscle cell, we'll be going into the mechanical and the electrical properties of the muscle. Before that, let us study conduction system. So today's session, I'll just deal with the cardiac muscle cell and the conduction system. In the next video, I'll be dealing with this one, mechanical and electrical properties of the cardiac muscle. So conduction system, what are the conduction system? That which conducts the impulses, that which regulates the heartbeat. The conduction system of the heart, that is SA node, sinoatrial node, then AV node, atrioventricular node, then comes the bundle of His, then two branches, right and left branch, bundle branch, then the Purkinje fibers. So the conduction system of the heart or conduction system are SA node, sinoatrial node, atrioventricular node, bundle of His, then two branches, then comes the Purkinje fibers. So what is the sinoatrial node? It is also called as the pacemaker, heart's natural pacemaker. Here it starts the impulses. It creates the impulses or electrical impulses starts from here and then spreads to the different conduction system. So SA node is also called as heart's natural pacemaker, heart's natural pacemaker. This SA node, where it is present? It is present in the right atrium. Where it is present? It is present in the right atrium at the opening of superior vena cava. Okay, SA node is present in the right atrium at the opening of the superior vena cava. AV node is present in the right atrium. AV node is present in the right atrium near the interatrial septum. See, this is the interatrial septum. We had studied about this interatrial and interventricular septum in the first session. So, interatrial septum is what? It separates the chamber. It gives a partition to the chamber. That is, the right atrium is separated from left atrium by interatrial septum. Right ventricle and left ventricle are separated by interventricular septum. Two septae we studied. So this AV node is present in the right atrium near the lower part of the interatrial septum, and from there arises the bundle of His, which again branches, which again gives two branch, that is right bundle branch and left bundle branch. And this branch runs on either side of the interventricular septae. So the bundle of His that branches into two, right and the left bundle branch. This branch runs on either side of what? Interventricular septae, and it again divides into Purkinje fibers, which spreads all over the ventricles. Clear? SA node, it is present in the right atrium at the opening of the superior vena cava. AV node is present in the right atrium on near and lower part of the interatrial septum. From there arises the bundle of His. It gives again two branches, right and left, and that ends by giving branches like Purkinje fibers. And this Purkinje fibers is spread throughout the ventricles. So whenever the impulse is generated from the SA node, from the pacemaker, it spreads throughout the right atrium and through the internodular fibers. Through internodular fibers, what happens? The impulses passes to the AV node. From there the impulses, electrical impulses, moves into the bundle of His, and here it, on the right side it moves into the right bundle branch, on the left side it moves into the left bundle branch, and then again the impulses pass on to the Purkinje fibers. From Purkinje fibers the impulses are given to the ventricles. When the impulse is generated from sinoatrial node, it passes to the atrium. Why it is passing to the atrium? It is asking the atrium to get contracted so that it can push the blood into the ventricles. The impulse, when it is generated from the SA node, it spreads through the atrium and asks the atrium to contract and pump the blood into the ventricles. Then the impulse moves on to the AV node, bundle of His, left and right branch, then the Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers gives a signal to the ventricles saying that contract and push or pump the blood into the pulmonary artery and the aorta. This is a conduction system of the heart. So we'll just deal with the flow chart of conduction system. What was it? First, it was the impulse was created in SA node, pacemaker. Then it spreads to the atrium causing atrial syncytium. Then the internodal fibers picks up that impulses and gives to the AV node. From AV node it goes on to bundle of His. From bundle of His to the branches. From branches to the Purkinje fibers. From Purkinje fibers to the ventricles, ventricular syncytium. See, impulse passing from SA node to atrial, SA node to the atrium, atrium to cause the atrial syncytium. From there, the internodal fibers picks up the impulses and gives it to the AV node. From AV node to bundle of His to the branch right and left. From there to the Purkinje fibers, and Purkinje fibers sends the impulses to the ventricle, and that ventricular syncytium takes place. What do you mean by the syncytium? Syncytium is nothing but when the one cardiac cell gets the impulse. When one cardiac cell gets the impulse and the other cells, when one cardiac cell is getting the impulses, so the action potential goes to the peak. By the time action potential goes to the peak, the other cells are also getting these impulses at a time, and then these cells together they are going to contract. Together they are contracting. One cell will contract first, then the next cell. No, that is not happening. Here what is happening? One cell is receiving the impulse and immediately that impulse is spread towards the other cells through the gap junction. Through the gap junction, immediately the impulse is sent to the entire atrium, and the contraction takes place together. All the atrial cells together contract and pumps the blood into the ventricles. The same syncytium happens in the ventricles also. One cell picks up the impulses and immediately that impulses are spreaded towards to the entire ventricles through the gap junction, and then all the cells together they are going to contract and pump the blood into the aorta and the pulmonary artery. So this completes the conduction system of the heart. Today we dealt with the cardiac muscle and the conduction system. I think it was a little bit difficult to understand. If you have any doubt in these two topics, you can put in the comment box. Once again, I will explain on this topic if you have doubt. Otherwise, we will move on with the electrical and mechanical properties of cardiac muscle in the next session. Thank you. Hare Krishna.